welcome to Breaking the Rules. My name is Casey Dempster, and I'm here with my host Ray Lowe and our guest Dr. Barbara Plasker. And I wanted to speak briefly at the beginning about the name of our show, Breaking the Rules. And actually our mission is more what I want to get at. We all in our lives have to face change, and sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's difficult. And I think that if we feel like we're in control of the change and what's happening, oftentimes it makes the whole path a little bit more smooth for us. And so sometimes the rules that have always been in place for handling a specific change don't fit us as individuals. So that's why we want to encourage people to break the rules and make the rules fit their personal situation. And I have my quote for the morning. And this quote is from Albert Einstein, so we know it must be true. And Albert says, "We can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them." So I thought that was really interesting, and it fits the mission of our show. And because, as I said, change can become necessary whether we're ready for it or whether we want it or not. So it is how we respond to it that makes it easy or more difficult. So good morning, Ray.
Good morning. So great. Dr. Einstein came along with what we're always saying. If you always do what you always did, you usually get what you always got, right?
That's exactly right.
And our guest today is a wonderful example of this whole process personally herself. And then she's helped lots and lots of people achieve the same kind of thing. So I can call you Barbara today?
Please.
Barbara?
Absolutely.
Okay, so welcome to Breaking the Rules.
Thank you.
And you describe yourself as a late bloomer.
Right.
So do you want to comment on that a little bit?
Sure. You know, when we're growing up, we're told that by a certain age you should know what you want to do. And especially when you're choosing a college, you have to pick a major that's supposed to last for the rest of your life. Well, most people don't work that way. That, you know, we pick a major. I picked my major, biology, because my parents wouldn't let me major in art, and I had a crush on my biology teacher. So
that's a great reason, right? So you started late in this whole process, right?
Yeah.
And you've actually reinvented yourself many, many times.
Yes.
In fact, we could probably call you a master of recreating yourself.
I've been lucky. I see opportunities all the time, and you never know when they're going to come. Mm-hmm. And I was able to figure out what I was supposed to do for the next step, the next chapter of my life. And so I've had many jobs, and I've enjoyed all of them, but I couldn't figure out what the first job was. That was the struggle for me. I couldn't figure out. There's so many different ways you can go when you're stuck. I think that's an overwhelming problem for people.
Yeah.
You know, if you only have one way to go, then it's easier. And at times I described it as though I was with Christopher Columbus landing on the East Coast, and there's no map.
Right.
And you don't, so what do? I don't see a forerunner or somebody else that's going there, and so what do?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you've reinvented yourself a number of times, and you've found, and I think this is typical of most people, life isn't simple. It doesn't stay consistent. And so you had your first job in life, and then you got married, and you had kids, all chiropractors, by the way, right? Okay, and went through taking care of a sick husband.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, what most people would say later in life, however, I think you're just at the beginning of your life here. And
I hope so.
and you got a job.
Mm-hmm.
And worked in a government type of situation for a few years. And then what happened?
Well, you know, that's when I was 64 years old, I was laid off. I worked at a hospital. They closed the department. I had no job. I wanted to work. I needed to work. And so I did some networking, and I was asked to join a government job, a public health educator at the local health department. I worked there for 11 years, so I retired when I was 75. And now I have 11 years, plus some of my other jobs were government jobs. So at this point in time, I just got my tax statement, how much I earned. I have a pension, which is not planned,
Yeah.
but because of the jobs that I've had, that's where I am today. I'm very grateful for that.
And now you can do what you really want to do.
Yes.
Okay, so why don't you describe to our viewers what you do for people? And then we'll get back into the why a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so I work with people who are stuck. I gave a workshop last week, and I asked, the name of the workshop is Find Your Fulfilling Career. And I asked the audience, and 14 people showed up. They didn't pre-register. I didn't know if anybody was going to come. And I asked the question of the group, how long have you been thinking about changing your job? And one woman said 27 years.
Oh my.
That's incredible.
It is. And imagine the pain of staying in a job that you hate and not being able to get out of it. I think that is so sad.
I'm afraid that there's a lot of people in this world that are in that situation,
Right.
whether they've admitted it to themselves or not.
Right. And 14 people showed up
Wow.
for that workshop.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
And that's just a small sampling, probably of
absolutely.
thousands
Right,
that are
right.
disturbed.
It's just at a local library. And
Right. So what do you think would make somebody who is so unhappy stay in that situation for 27 years?
I think fear is the biggest factor. But
Fear.
also we have chatter going on in our head all the time. We just don't hear it. Michael Singer says, we are not the voice in our head, we're the one that hears it. So you have to be able to listen carefully to what the voice is telling you. And the voice must have told that woman many years ago, you can't move. You
Right.
can't move on. You
Right.
can't move on. It's too dangerous out there. It's scary. How are
Right.
you going to manage that?
Right. Right.
So you use an expression, and I'm going to quote this. I got sick and tired of being sick and tired, right?
Right.
And again, you were able to make this transformation. You avoided the little voices telling you it's too dangerous out there. How did you do that?
Well, you know, when I started my journey, I was coming out of a very dark period in my life. I had 3 young children, and during the years that I gave birth, my mother died when I was pregnant with my 3rd child, in her 50s. My father died 2 years later.
Wow.
My father-in-law passed away, and 3 of my grandparents passed away, all in that time period.
Wow.
So for a long time, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what mattered to me. I knew I had to take care of my kids. I had to do the things that were in front of me, and I did them. And one day I woke up and I said, you can't stay this way for the rest of your life. You have to do something different. And that's what I did. I started very small steps, very small steps. Martin Luther King Jr.'s quote is, you don't have to take the whole staircase, just take the first step.
That's true.
And that's really hard for people to come out of their comfort zone. And I used the analogy the other day. A lot of people I see, they live in a teacup. They're standing in a teacup, and the rim of the teacup is at the top of their head. So when they look around, all they see is the inside of the teacup. But if you could lift them up for a little bit, they would see, oh my goodness, there's so much going on in the world. How can I be part of it?
That's true.
Yeah, let me inject something. We were talking earlier, and this happens to be your son's book that we're talking about,
Right.
okay? And I'm not going to get the name of it correctly, but it's about the fact that we're living a long time. And this is so important now. I mean, you're a veritable youngster right now. You know, you made this leap. You retired at 75 and started a new career,
Right.
okay? But yet, if we live into our hundreds, you got a long time to practice what you do.
We do. And sometimes, you know, today, one of my accomplishments after I retired was to write a book. And I completed the book, and it's on Amazon. It's called Simple Ways to Transform Your Life, Lessons Learned by a Late Bloomer. But I didn't know how to write the book. You know, I knew how to write. I had things published before. But how do you get a book on Amazon?
Right.
So I signed up for a coaching program. And they helped me get this book on Amazon. So one of the important things that I've learned is you need support. When you're at this time of your life, you're not really, it's hard to do it by yourself. You have to get some kind of support. You mentioned to me earlier today that you have a coach. You've had a coach throughout your career.
Yes, and especially the last 20 years, it's been a significant part of the process. But I think we all need some accountability. We all need somebody to talk to, and you're absolutely right. You can't do it yourself. You know, I'm a little interested, actually I'm a lot interested in, how do you take somebody who has been struggling inside themselves and get it out? Because at some point in time, people have to recognize that I don't want to be here anymore.
Right. Well, I have a 5-step process, 4 steps. It's observation, awareness, acceptance, and change. So the first thing you have to do is to separate those voices in your head and listen. You're the listener. Listen to what that voice is telling you. I think our mind is like a radio. It's got a lot of different channels. Sometimes all the channels are playing at once, and you just over and over again you're thinking about the shopping list. What am I going to make for dinner? Why did he say that to me? I should have punched him in the nose. You know, all this stuff is going on in your head, and you have to stop and listen to what it's saying and figure out which radio station you want to listen to. You don't have to stay in it. You have a choice. You can pick another station to listen to, but you need to observe your mind.
Okay. Before we get into the other steps, I've been told we have to go to our break.
Okay.
So mark that place,
Okay.
and we'll be right back. Don't go away.
Let's figure out what we
Shelter dogs aren't broken. They've simply experienced more life. If they were human, we would call them wise. They would be the ones with tales to tell and stories to write. The ones dealt a bad hand who responded with courage. Do not pity a shelter dog. Adopt one.
Say we've got grit, and we'll take it as a compliment. Because it's our uncommon drive, our spark within, that brings us together and sets us apart. We are temple made. And when others take shortcuts, when others take breaks, when others take the easy way, we take charge.
There's this whole world fraught with danger. Well, this is the path that you're talking about.
I work 13 hours a day, 6 days a week. So when I'm off the clock, I gotta get stuff done. So when I need a snack, I need something healthy, tasty, and easy to eat. Like wonderful pistachios without the shells. They're protein-powered, delicious, and great on the go. And that's perfect for me. Thanks, Liz. A woman without a lot of time.
Whether you're a gourmet cook or just want to eat like one, visit Rostelli Market Fresh, your home for the freshest, locally sourced ingredients to please everyone who loves great food. Our organic meats, quality seafood, and free-range poultry are cut fresh to order. Chefs create culinary-inspired prep foods made fresh every day, which pair nicely with our vast selection of fine wines and spirits. Choose from handmade pastas, artisan cheeses, organic produce, and grocery items, all from the finest purveyors. Rostelli Market Fresh, from our family to yours.
RVN TV is a platform for people of any industry to share their story. Over 285,000 viewers are tuning in to RVN TV shows monthly. We guarantee a great experience that you'll be sharing with everyone you know while increasing your personal and company's brand awareness. But what is your brand? According to Forbes, it's a combination of your logo, your product, your design and feel, and your personality. Did you know that aside from being a guest, we offer even more opportunity to boost your brand? Adding your company logo and website on screen during your interview will allow viewers to recognize your brand instantly. Incorporating images and video clips is another great way to showcase your product during your live segment. Let viewers see how good you really are. And most importantly, there's you and your interview. For less than the cost of a newspaper, direct mail, or a magazine ad, you can leave our studio and within 48 hours have a permanent digital copy of your live segment to link to your social media, embed into your company website, or use in email marketing. Investing in your brand is so very important, and we can't wait to have you as a guest.
Welcome back, everybody, to Breaking the Rules. I'm your co-host, Casey Dempster, and I'm here with Ray Lowe and our guest, Dr. Barbara Plasker. And when we went to break, Dr. Plasker was giving us her 5 steps process for effecting change in your life. And you started out by saying the first step was to observe.
Right.
And what was step 2?
I just want to say that if you're going through this process, you should keep a journal, and because you're going to be learning as you go. And when you listen long enough, you'll be able to catch yourself in the moment thinking a thought that you need to address. And so it's observation, awareness. Then now you're always aware of what's going on in your head. And you say, that's crazy. Why do I believe that? And I have a client who's, she just realized she's always seeking her mother's approval. Now, she's 60 years old. She wants to change her career. And she's still worried that her mother died years ago. She's living in her head, telling her, you can't do that. And so we have to say, sorry, Mom, I don't need your approval anymore.
Right. So we've observed.
Okay, and you become aware. And then you need to accept. Most people, when they are aware, they want to change right away. Let me get rid of this,
Yeah.
But you can't do that. You have to accept. Okay, yeah, I'm always asking my mother for approval. It's not relevant today.
Right.
And so once you get to that acceptance place, okay, you say, okay, well, what can I do differently? So you hear that voice in your head, and the voice says, you can't get that job, you can't take that job. And you say, yes, I can. I'm an adult now. I don't have to listen to you anymore. And that did happen to me. I told you I wanted to be an art major. My parents wouldn't let me. I had a resentment, and I'm 37 years old, and I want to go to art school again. And my husband says to me, no, you can't go. I don't want you to go. It meant me commuting from Rockland County, New York, to Brooklyn, New York, and he didn't want me to drive that distance. And I said, I'm 37, I have the money, I can make arrangements for my kids, I'm going to go. I'm sorry, dear, I'm going to go. And his fear was I was going to have an accident.
Wow.
That's what he didn't want me to go.
Right.
Doesn't make sense for me at this age to stop my desire to listen to what somebody else thinks is right for me. And that's what a lot of us do.
Right. That's
Okay,
true.
so let's talk about a couple of your clients, because first of all, let's get on the table. You are a coach,
Yes,
right?
I'm a professional coach.
And you've done this later in your life.
I became a coach later in my life, but my first real job, the one that really sent me to the moon, I was a counselor at a college at Pace University, and I helped people live their dreams. I had one guy who was a police officer. He wanted to become a psychologist, so he became a psychologist.
That's fantastic.
I saw another guy with a police officer who's looking through the want ads. He's looking for a job as a security guard. He didn't plan. He didn't see the possibilities for his future. He retired from the police department, and
He was just drifting.
right.
This is the importance of having a coach, I think.
Yeah.
I've had a coach. We were discussing this during break, and I've had a coach for 25 years, okay? And I don't know how I could live without it, because sometimes you just need permission to be able to do things,
Absolutely.
don't you?
Right.
So it's this accountability, it's permission, it's okay to do this kind of a thing.
right.
And that's obviously got to be one of the biggest things that you do for people at the beginning. And then you help them go through this 5-step process and look above the walls of the teacup.
Right.
Okay.
And the other example that you gave when we were talking last week, which I really loved, was the acorn.
Yeah, I have an acorn with me. Or maybe I'll take it out. And an acorn is an oak tree in a box. And if that box, the acorn, does not land on the earth and doesn't get sunshine and water and nutrients from the soil, it's going to remain an acorn for the rest of his life. I see people that way. I see people having all this potential within them. They're all oak trees, but they're staying an acorn. And that really bothers me, because I'm really passionate about getting people to bloom, to be who they were meant to be.
That's fantastic.
Let's talk about the wall of doubt. And I know you brought an example of this. I don't know if we can get this up.
ask them in the booth.
Explain the wall of doubt and tell us about the companion pieces that go with that a little bit.
Sure. So when you finally get to a place where you say, I see it, I see my future, I know it's going to make me happy if I'm doing this. I have a slide where somebody's crossing the finish line and saying yes. What I say is, the first thing that happens after you see that is a wall of doubt comes between you and your vision. And on that wall of doubt, for me, was things like fear, I need permission, I don't know how, I have all these negative thoughts in my head, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not tall enough, I'm not short enough, I'm not rich enough. There's so many other people out there doing what I want to do, who's going to hire me? So now even though you know where you want to go, you've got to deal with all this stuff on the wall of doubt. And you need a coach to get you through that. And when I saw on my wall of doubt, said, I don't know how, I'd written before, I had articles published, but I didn't write a book, and I didn't know how to write a book. And so I signed up for a coaching program, and my book is on Amazon now because I got the guidance and the support I needed.
And that never would have happened by yourself.
Right.
So when one of the things that you've been talking about, there's a lot of negatives in here, okay? Yeah. And you got to be careful, I think, that you don't get depressed in the process, right, because we have to turn this into a positive outcome kind of a thing. Right. How do you do that as a coach? How do you help people?
I once had a therapist that asked me, Barbara, what are you going to do with all the space that's freed up when you stop being so negative? Now, I said to myself, I'm not negative. But I went to him every week, and I told him all my troubles, and that's all he heard from me. It was like, I have a life that's 85% great, 15% needs improvement, and all I saw, 15%, was 100%. And I felt like a victim. And so I went home, and I looked at the 85%, and now I'm really happy because I'm so grateful. I have so much in my life to be grateful for. And I live in this space. Now it's 100% of gratitude. No matter what happens, I can turn it around and I don't want to be a victim anymore because poor me. I was just reading some of my notes. I used to have these funeral fantasies when I was in that dark place.
Wow.
And everybody would, the reason I wanted to die was because then everybody would be sorry they didn't treat me better because I was a victim.
Right.
Yeah.
And now, I just turned that around.
And yet that was only 15% of your life.
That's right.
Right.
Okay.
But that's all you could see.
Right.
So let's talk about, we were talking about Joyce earlier.
Yes.
Okay. And Joyce is a person who later in life, and one of the things I think we want to get across is just because you're getting older or something like that doesn't mean that you have to stop, right?
Absolutely.
In fact, actually, it's the time to start.
I agree.
So tell us about Joyce a little bit.
She's a woman, she's a client of mine. She's worked as a physical therapist for 30 years, now 40 years. I've worked with her for a while. And her mother told her, when she was very creative when she was a kid, and her mother told her, she wanted to go to FIT, for school. And her mother told, you have to do something practical. You'll never make money at that. So she's a physical therapist, and she's burnt out. She's afraid. And she just quit her job. I'm coaching her. She just quit her job. Her last day is the end of January. And she signed up to become an interior designer. She's taking a class to become an interior designer.
That's fantastic.
And she makes a beautiful stained glass, which she's done as a hobby. I encouraged her that she taught a class in her area for people last semester. And she's bringing that creativity out of herself because it's been yearning to be free.
Okay, so let's think about some of these things that we've been talking about here. First of all, most people, or a lot of people, go through this stage where they're not happy about what they're doing, okay? And part of it is, how do you get that break to be able to all of a sudden get permission to follow what you want to do? I think you brought out that we may live to be 100 years old here. How much time do we want to waste in our life, and how do we take advantage of this opportunity?
Getting near the end.
Okay. I think that you indicated that you need help to do this, that you are a coach, that you've been helping people. How do people get in touch with you?
You can email me at info@Barbara Plasker, all one word, BARBARAPLASKER.com. And give me your phone number. I'll give you a call. I can give you a free consultation to see what's possible for you, and we can start there.
And tell us the name of your book again, because it's available on Amazon,
Right.
correct?
Simple Ways to Transform Your Life, Lessons Learned by a Late Bloomer.
That's great.
Cool.
That's great.
Well, Barbara, thank you for being with us, and I've learned a lot, and I know I got to keep my coach, right? Or get a new coach here. You know, I think we're going to be talking later.
Okay,
so
great.
have a great day, and thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for joining us. Don't forget to tune in next week, and have a great day and break some rules.
Cool.